Hey y'all, it's me Kim. I'm back for another video. This is where I sit and do my makeup and talk to you about whatever is on my mind. So today, I don't know, I'm sitting on this floor and I'm really hot, I guess because I have a sweater on, but I decided I'm going to talk about two people that I am not going to be arguing about anymore. And those two people are Jussie Smollett and Bernie Sanders. Do I want to put on a primer? Yes, I do. So, in the last video that I recorded, I said I give it about a week or two before the Jussie Smollett thing crumbled. And it crumbled a couple of days after that. It was inevitable. There were too many holes in the story. I said that there were too many holes in the story from the very beginning. And I didn't initially trust myself on that, but then when queer people that I love and respect started saying, oh, there's holes in this story, then I was like, oh, you're good. Anyways, you can watch that video. But anyways, Jussie Smollett has gone down. I expect him to go down further. People have been saying, oh, I'm gonna wait for the trial. There ain't gonna be no trial. There's not gonna be any trial. Jussie Smollett is going to plead guilty to a lesser charge, like 90-something% of defendants, particularly in major metro areas like Chicago. And he's gonna pay a fine or do some community service or whatever and go right on his way, and that's perfectly fine with me. The idea of people being like, he should go to prison, stop it. Stop it. There's no reason for this man to go to jail. Even the bond amount I thought was excessive. $100,000 for that? Please. I think, well, I guess they're saying, I don't know. Anyways, I think I end money bail as far as I'm concerned. Any bail is unjust bail as far as I'm concerned. I just felt like $100,000 seemed like a lot of money, but I guess they were, obviously Chicago PD is pissed off about this and they want to, you know, there's always lots of gender stuff at play, and the head of the police department, you know, showing his visible anger, and then you have Rahm Emanuel out here being like, I'm so mad. And it's like, you know what? Y'all should be mad that your police department is full of rapists, murderers, people who harass and do not do their duty. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what you should really be mad about. But anyways, so it's so interesting the way that the discussion about Jussie Smollett has shifted in these past couple of days. You know, look, I think Jussie Smollett did it. I think that, you know, okay, we don't trust the police, sure. But let me just say this. When I read the bond proffer, I hope that's how you pronounce it. I've never seen that word until a couple of days ago, which I guess is where, I don't know enough about the justice system, where the state lays out their case against somebody who is indicted for a crime. It's just the level of detail. I was just like, okay, this fills in all of the gaps that were not filled in by Jussie. I think that Jussie Smollett had so many opportunities. You know, it was just so shaky, the whole story. And he had so many opportunities to fill it in via the Robin Roberts interview, via any statement from his lawyers, via social media. They just were huge gaping holes. And unfortunately, what the police have provided fills in all of those holes. Now, I think Jussie did it. I'm not even, you know, in the last video I was like, well, if he did it, I think that he did it. You know. And let me just say this has been a big thing. If you are gonna stick to the thing that you don't think he did it, fine. I'm not arguing about that. No, whatever. Whatever, do what you gotta do. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've seen comment threads on Jussie Smollett that have been hundreds of comments long. Y'all, who has the time? Who has the time? Not me. Who has the time or the desire to go hundreds of comments in talking about whether or not we believe Jussie, what the Chicago police did wrong, what they did right, what the holes in his story are. You know what? At this point, I'm never an agree to disagree person. I'm at agree to disagree. You are gonna stick with it. I'm saying it was too many holes to begin with. He didn't fill in those holes, so I think he did it. And that's, I mean, we can just move on. One thing that I do think is strange, though, like legitimately strange, is I can say, and I believe that just because you did something bad doesn't mean that you are, you know, an irredeemable person. That's really the foundation of my politics. You know, I think that everybody can be redeemed. I think it's important for us as a nation, as a community, as a culture, to embrace an ethic of everybody does bad shit, so everybody can be redeemed. But that don't mean that when you do bad shit, we pretend like you didn't do bad shit. So it's weird to me to see people say, well, Jussie lied, so what? So what? No, that's not how we get. And I think that this is coming from, look, I think there's a real moral inconsistency if we say, well, we don't care what white folks do and fuck whitey and all of that. And then when somebody in our community who we went up for, who hurt actual people in our communities, when they fuck up, we can't be like, well, white folks do it too. Okay. We already established that, you know? I just don't think that that is reasonable. And if this was a thing where nobody had been hurt by Jussie or you know, felt triggered by Jussie or whatever, if there was literally no harm, then I'd be like, fine. But, you know, after 3 weeks of people being up in arms and arguing, and I've seen people tweet that they lost sleep and they felt sick and all of that, that's harm. You did something bad. And we can't get to the next place, a better place, a stronger place, if we pretend like you didn't do anything. Like, we need to be able to, we can hold multiple things, ideas at once, right? And so, a central part of my ethic is everybody can come back. You do bad shit, we talk through it, you make amends, we move on. We don't punish you forever. But a part of moving on to the next thing requires acknowledgement. It requires making the people that you hurt whole. And so it's just really strange to me when I see people who are ostensibly justice-minded say, so what, he lied. No. That matters. We're not just gonna skip over that. No, that's not what we're going to do. And we need to talk about why he lied. We need to talk about, you know, what he got out of that lie. We need to talk about what can we do moving forward to create a culture or create structures or whatever necessary to make it so that people don't feel like they have to lie, or when people do lie, we can, you know, welcome them back in. But the idea of just saying, well, whatever, it's like, okay. I think this is a real space where we see people give people they don't know or celebrities way more benefit of the doubt than they would give other people. Like, if Jussie was just somebody, if Jussie was your man, if Jussie was your boyfriend, and he lied about some truly heinous stuff, would you just be like, oh, what? So what? You lied. Jay-Z lied too. Huh? Or so what? You lied. The president lied too. Huh? No. And I think this desire to protect Jussie from, you know, white violence and white I mean, the MAGA people have been absolutely insane. They're going to be unbearable. But how can we commit to protecting this man from the inevitable horror and violence that the MAGA people are going to try to inflict on him. How can we do that while also saying, but sir, you need to make amends? We gotta figure that out, because I think it is just giving this man a pass when people were out here crying and ready to march. And when you intentionally used historical symbols that are triggering not only my trauma, but there's like ancestral trauma that you're trying to ratchet up for your benefit. That's serious. And I am not okay. It's not okay to just pretend like that means nothing. It means something, and we got to figure out what it means and how to move forward. But yeah, I have decided that I'm just not going to argue about it, though. You know, the people now are just like, I think that you are free to say that you are going to believe Jussie no matter what evidence comes out, and wait for the trial even though there's not going to be one. You're free to do that. I don't know if it comes from this pure social justice place that a lot of people are saying that it comes from. I pride myself in being different from the other side of the aisle, in that if the facts change, then I'm going to reconsider my position. Now, my position on this always was, some may write, but if there had been new stuff introduced that said, oh, wow, he really didn't know, I believe that I would have been open to it. I hope so. But there is something weird and I think a little disconcerting about people saying, well, we have new stuff, and you can choose not to believe CPD. I mean, I guess you can. It's just weird to me that you can't. I don't know. Now that we have this other stuff from CPD, now that we have this other stuff from the men, right? Because people say, well, I don't trust CPD. Well, I think it's really possible that this man could have set these men up to be in real serious trouble. Like, he didn't think that they were gonna get caught, but what if they did? I just think it's so complicated, and if you have the police out here looking for other people, what if they had found other people and tried to pin this crime on other people? I mean, you are potentially putting folks in harm's way. That's an issue for me. And we don't fuck with the police, and we don't trust the police. But if these men had not chosen to save themselves, I mean, you know, who knows what would have happened to them. So anyways, the point being that, to get back to what I was originally saying, I think that we do live in a double down culture, in a facts don't matter culture. And we try to pin that on the MAGA people. We try to just be like, oh, they don't believe in climate change and all of that. But it is everybody. I mean, polarization means that everybody is going to go to their corner and say, I'm right, I'm right, I'm right. I don't care what you say, I'm right. And I really feel like that ethos is really showing itself in how people are approaching this Jussie Smollett thing. I genuinely just don't think that it is about CPD as a lot of people are claiming. I think it's really just about, you know, the double down culture of I'm right, I'm right, I'm right. No matter what you say, I'm right. And I think that because I just think, you know, I follow a man on Facebook who said, well, I'm just going to wait until the trial. Well, there's not going to be no trial. So let's say Jussie comes out with some, you know, evidence or whatever. I just don't believe that if Jussie came out with some whatever and it just was unsatisfactory, that the people who are like, I still believe Jussie, I just don't believe that they would change. I think they would be like, oh, it was coerced, it was whatever. I mean, you know, because I really just think that nobody wants to lose. Nobody wants to be wrong. And that's deeply concerning, and it has, you know, immense consequences for community building, for movement work, for activism, for intellectual work. I have to be open to being wrong. So anyways, I've just decided, because I just have been getting really frustrated by people who are just like, this, I am just not gonna, I'm not engaging. If you are gonna believe that he didn't do it until you die, like, okay. You know, I was like, okay, agree to disagree. The other people I'm not fooling with at all are Bernie supporters. There is, if Bernie gets the nomination, which I genuinely do not believe that he will, but if Bernie gets the Democratic nomination for president, I will vote for him. There is no way that I, Kimberly Nicole Foster, will be voting for Bernie Sanders in a primary. It's not going to happen. It's just not. I care about identity politics. I'm not voting for anybody who expresses outward hostility to identity politics. If you're not into identity politics, then, you know, that's cool. So that's a no from me. Bernie already knows that his biographical markers, demographic markers, are wrong. That's why as soon as he announced, he came out saying, it's not about race, it's not about age. Like, you know that as an old white man, the party is moving in a different direction. So you have to say, it's not about race, it's not about age. It's just like, you know, sir, like, you trying to con us. Don't do that. And people say this is unreasonable, but I don't care. I do not like the Bernie stance. Do not. In the past week, you know, I've done a couple of videos about Bernie, about presidential candidates. So I did one about Cory Booker, and I did a couple about Kamala Harris, and I'm about to do one about Tulsi Gabbard. But the Bernie stands are by far the most, they are demeaning, they are smug, they are just not people that I want to talk to on the internet or off the internet, frankly. In the past week, when I've said things about why I'm just not interested in Bernie, he just doesn't, I mean, I have a candidate. My candidate is Elizabeth Warren. That's who I'm going with. That's my girl. I voted for her the first time she ran for Senate in Massachusetts. That's my girl. Wish she hadn't have done that bullshit with the Native American stuff that I'm gonna vote for. But when I've talked about why I just don't have an interest in Bernie, the Bernie stands have called me unsophisticated. They've called me a low IQ voter. They have said that I have a low political IQ. And it's like, huh? This is why we don't like y'all. I do not fuck with y'all. And, you know, I posted this on Facebook. I deleted it because I don't want to be in any Facebook arguments. I don't want to be on any arguments anywhere. But let me just say, who you decide to vote for is about many things. A part of that is policy, absolutely. I would not vote in the primary for somebody whose policy I didn't believe in. That doesn't make sense. But a part of it is also about asserting a certain kind of identity. Who do you want to be? Who do you want to be associated with? I do not want to be associated with the Bernie people. Sorry. Sorry. If you're a Bernie person watching this, shout out to you. Good luck. I don't think that your candidate has a good chance at all. I think that his moment has passed. I think that people do care about demographics, and the most fervent voters in the Democratic Party, I just do not believe that he's going to get out of the primary. I do not believe that the people who are most passionate about voting are going to give a plurality of votes to Bernie Sanders. I don't believe that. I just think we're in a different time. and when I was listening to the 538 podcast, I think Claire Malone said something like, he opened the door, right? Like, we're very thankful for Bernie for opening the door to progressive ideas, to democratic socialism. Like, that's a great thing. He, as a candidate, is not it for me. It's just not. Sorry, I'm a 30-year-old black woman. I don't want to vote for a 78-year-old white man. It's just not going to be it for me. So, call it superficial, call it shallow and unsophisticated. Do whatever you got to do. It's a no from me. And you know what doesn't help? When the Bernie people get up and say, well, that's stupid and that's dumb, and he marched the MLK. Are y'all, if y'all fucking mention Martin Luther King one more motherfucking time, if another Bernie person posts a fucking photo from the 1960s, I'm gonna fucking die. You guys. I'm glad that Bernie is on the right side of history with regard to that. That's great. It's still going to be a no from me. So what I will not be doing as we move forward is arguing with a Bernie Sanders supporter about why I will not be voting for him. And that's all about that. And the thing is, people say, well, somebody else said on one of my on my Facebook post about how the Bernie Sanders supporters are the barbs of politics, meaning the Nicki Minaj stands of politics. They said, oh, well, you're just a liberal. No, well, maybe. I mean, but I love Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I wish I could vote for Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez for something. And I appreciate that she was very, very inspired by Bernie Sanders. But I am not voting for Bernie Sanders. And the thing is, I'm okay. Look, I'm not going back and forth. For some reason, anytime, and it's to a point where I can respect Bernie for the architecture that he's laid down, but he's not getting my vote. The end. Okay, we also need to talk about this. Something else that's been on my mind is this thing with Amy Klobuchar. So Amy Klobuchar is a senator from somewhere in the middle of the country. I should probably know, but I want to say it's Minnesota? Yeah, because she was out in the snow. So I think it's Minnesota. Missouri? No, not Missouri, because that was Claire McCaskill. Minnesota, Amy Klobuchar. So I will definitely not be voting for Amy Klobuchar because she's just, I'm not interested in pragmatism, you know. There's so much of like, oh, well, don't scare away the moderates by it being unpragmatic. No, we're past that. I'm sorry. Do you see who's in the White House right now? Don't give me no shit about pragmatism. The man who said that he was going to give everybody the best health care with the lowest costs and not raise taxes. And like, no, nobody cares about pragmatism. Okay? Republicans don't care about pragmatism. I sure as hell don't care about pragmatism. I care about enacting policy that I like. So I don't really care about the debt. I don't care about any of that stuff. I care about, can people eat? Can people pay for their child care? Can people pay for their health care? Are people going to be saddled with loans that they can't pay for the rest of it? That's what I care about. Do not care about pragmatism in politics. So Amy Klobuchar, in fact, the idea that you appeal to the middle turns me off. She's not for me. But that's not even really, I mean, that's obvious, like, duh. Like, nobody who thinks like me is going to vote for Amy Klobuchar, obviously. I think but what I want to talk about, Amy Klobuchar, is apparently she's really horrible to her employees. There's been so many stories that have come out about how she's just a dick. Like, she's just an asshole. She throws things, she yells, she screams. Today there was a story in the New York Times about how she was getting on a flight and an aide was running and had to get her a salad, and the aide didn't bring her a fork, and so she ate had to eat the salad with a comb that she took out of her bag, which, okay. Look, you know, I'm not gonna be too judgmental. I mean, I do gross stuff all the time. We just don't, it just doesn't end up in the New York Times. Like, we've all probably done some gross stuff that somebody would be, if it ended up in the New York Times, people would be horribly disgusted. The problem is she ate the salad with the comb and then like berated the person who didn't give the fork and then told somebody to clean her nasty salad comb. It's like, no. It's weird to me how people are working so hard to minimize all of these stories coming out about how Amy Klobuchar is a horrible boss. It matters if you're a bad boss. It matters. Now, I know we want to talk about sexism and all of that. Sure. I'm sure she's being more harshly criticized about being an asshole boss than others. I bet that that's true. That doesn't mean that I'm going to give Amy Klobuchar any benefit of the doubt. No. I'm not voting for or endorsing or minimizing the actions of somebody who mistreats their employees. I bet Donald Trump is a terrible boss. I bet Bernie Sanders is a terrible boss. I hope that there are, well, everybody knows that Donald Trump is terrible, but I hope that there are some real exposés about how terrible of a person Bernie is to work for, and we hear stories about that ad nauseum. That doesn't mean that I'm going to, look, we're in thankfully, a much more worker-centric time. Most of us know what it is like to work for people we hate. Most of us know what it's like to work for people who talk down to us, who berate us. You know, one time I got fired. This is a random story, but I worked at a place called BJ's Brew House in high school. Right before college, senior year, right before college. And first of all, they already hated me because I was going to Harvard and everybody knew it. And you know, white folks, the white managers at BJ's, look, they were so resentful that that was my summer job and that I was going to go to Harvard. And I could feel the resentment, but I just kind of, you know, moved through it. And then one time, one of my managers, you know, we talked about Harvard, and he said, oh, I bet you couldn't have gotten into Caltech. And I was like, well, did you get into Caltech? Like, you're a manager at a restaurant in Oklahoma City. Like, did you get in, like, so what are we even talking about here? It's not like I was bragging about the fact that I got into Harvard. It's not like I was bragging about how good my test scores are. What happens is people ask, oh, how did you do that? And you talk, you know, people ask, well, oh, how did you do that? And I was like 18 at the time, which is the craziest thing. How are you a grown person mad at an 18-year-old? Like, the idea of me trying to harass a child about college, oh, it was such a mess. But anyways, so I had this white boss, and of course I don't remember his name because inconsequential, a non-factor, but we were talking about something and he goes, well, you wouldn't have gotten into Caltech. And I just remember thinking, the fuck? Like, what a weird thing to say. So of course I didn't say anything. Well, maybe I probably did. I probably would have been like, I don't even know. What Kim was I at that time? Because there's like a couple of different Kims. So I could have been the Kim that said, probably. I probably would have actually. But maybe I didn't say anything. I don't know. I don't remember. But anyways, so a couple of weeks later, I was hosting, and this is such a dumb story. This is how stupid. This is why I'm so glad that I don't have no bosses. But you know how, like, you go to a restaurant and you go to the host little booth and they tell you how long it's going to be before you're seated. And this was a new restaurant and it was really popular and popping. And I was looking at the chart and the manager that was next to me said a time. And I said, I think, you know, according to our guidelines, it's like, it's going to be a little bit longer than that, right? And you don't want to tell people the wrong time, because if you tell somebody it's going to be 15 minutes, and it's 30 minutes, oh, they're going to come back hot. And you know who they're going to yell at? the little 18-year-old girl hosts. So he said a time, and I said, I think it's gonna be this. And then he goes, go to the back. And I said, what? And so then I go to the back, and he was like, don't ever correct me in front of customers. You need to clock out, which means like your shift is over, you're not gonna get paid. And I just remember being like, what the fuck? So as soon as he said that, I clocked out, and on my way to my car, I was like, I'm never coming back here. Like, I am not working here anymore. And I didn't. And I remember they might have called my cell phone. I definitely had a cell phone when I was a senior in high school. This is only 12 years ago. People had cell phones. Oh, I definitely had a cell phone at that time. So I must not have picked up my cell phone. So they called my house phone looking for me that Saturday. And I was like, oh, I'm not working here anymore. I'm not doing that. All that to say, I am glad that we are in an era where people are saying, oh no, like, it's not just enough to be a successful person. How you treat your employees matters. And I am not willing at all whatsoever to give Amy Klobuchar a pass whatsoever. I guess I'm gonna try this. I don't know. I guess. What's the worst that could happen? I don't know. It's spring. I don't know why I decided to do super dark lip. I guess the final thing that I guess I'll talk about is the Catholic Church. So I am, you know, a black Protestant who grew up in black churches, and they definitely have their issues, tons of issues that I feel like have been explored. It is crazy to me that the Catholic Church is still a thing. Like, the institutional Catholic Church is still, it's crazy to me. The Catholic Church has, for at least half a century, probably more, been outed as an international sex trafficking ring that preys on children, but it's still here. If this was if the Catholic Church were a corporation, okay, I don't know why I decided that I wanted to do this, but now I've done it, so I have to stick to it. Okay, I guess. Okay, I've done something here. I don't know why I decided to do this. I just picked up some colors and put them on. Anyways, if the Catholic Church were a corporation, it would have been shut down. It would have been sued into oblivion. It would have had to file bankruptcy decades ago. The fact that the Catholic Church is this thing that in all parts of the world, we see stories everywhere. Asia, Africa, the United States, South America, where priests are being shuffled around. Nuns, priests and nuns, by the way, are abusing people, assaulting people, molesting children. They get shuffled around for years and years and years. And the Catholic Church gets to say each and every time, oh, sorry, we condemn that in the strongest terms possible. And they have some little summit at the Vatican. And I'm like, y'all need to go. And the fact that people still go to the Catholic Church and still pay money to these people, it's like, it's crazy to me. Every week it's something else. Another story about somewhere. I saw a story on PBS NewsHour a day or two ago where priests were molesting deaf kids. And the deaf, they're like older now, but these deaf adults now are saying, I screamed out, but nobody could hear me because I was deaf. That's outrageous. It's outrageous. And the fact that the Pope gets to evade questions about that? What the hell? Religion is so crazy. I'm not a blanket religion hater. In fact, I'm gonna go back to church soon, or start going back because I miss going to church. But wow. And these people who have been molested will still stand in line, a reception line, to talk to the Pope. And it's like, wow, this is the institution that facilitated your molestation. Anyways, that's all I have to say about that. I don't know why this is super, I just decided to go dark. I don't know, dark like my soul. I will see y'all next time. Thank you so much for being patrons. Send me an email, leave a comment, send me a message. Bye.